There are monsters in this world. They don't have fangs or claws. They wear suits, they hold positions of power, and they trade in the most valuable commodity on Earth: human lives. For years, a shadow empire, a sprawling network of human traffickers worth over $150 million, had been operating in the heart of West Africa, turning the Sahel into a highway to hell. A river of human misery flowing from Burkina Faso, through the desolate sands, to the shores of Libya and beyond. But monsters only thrive in the dark. They grow bold in the silence, and on this day, the silence was about to be broken by the roar of armored engines and the unwavering resolve of one man. This is the story of a 48-hour race against time. A story of over 800 souls, including innocent children, teetering on the brink of being sold into slavery, or worse. And it's the story of Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the leader of Burkina Faso, who looked into the abyss of this evil and made a choice. Not to negotiate, not to turn a blind eye, but to fight back. This is the story of a war declared not on a nation, but on the very concept of human slavery. The intelligence that landed on Captain Traoré's desk was not just a report. It was a portrait of hell on earth. For months, a dedicated unit, working in the deepest shadows, had been piecing together the puzzle of this monstrous network. The picture that emerged was more horrifying than anyone could have imagined. This wasn't just human smuggling. This was an industrial-scale operation of human commodification. The routes were like veins of poison, stretching across thousands of kilometers. The cargo, men, women, and children, packed into shipping containers like cattle, their humanity stripped away. The intelligence spoke of infants found in steel boxes, their cries muffled by the metal walls. It spoke of a sinister parallel trade in human organs, with blood tests and tissue samples taken from the healthiest captives, marking them for a fate worse than forced labor. They discovered caches of forged documents, fake passports, and entire new identities created to move their products across borders seamlessly. Worst of all, the investigation revealed a devastating truth. The network was not just run by criminals, it was protected by them. The cancer had spread into the very institutions meant to fight it. Names within government offices, security forces, and border agencies appeared on encrypted ledgers. These were men who had sworn an oath to protect their people, but had instead sold them for profit. The enemy wasn't just at the gates, it was inside the walls. With the enemy listening from within, Captain Traoré knew that secrecy was their only weapon. A single leak, a single whispered word would send the traffickers scattering like cockroaches and condemn the 800 captives to certain death. He initiated a protocol of absolute silence. The mission was given a codename known only to a handful of trusted commanders. All orders were sealed, to be opened only minutes before the operation began. All communications were routed through military-grade encryption, with codes changing every hour. The strike force, a hand-picked unit of elite soldiers and special intelligence agents, was put on lockdown, their phones confiscated, their contact with the outside world severed. They were ghosts, preparing for a war that, officially, did not exist. The air in the command center was thick with tension. Maps covered the walls, with pins marking warehouses, safe houses, and transit points across the country. The 48-hour clock was ticking, a constant, relentless reminder of the stakes. Every passing minute was a minute closer to another convoy disappearing into the desert. For Captain Traoré and his team, failure was not an option. Night fell over Burkina Faso, but this was not a night for sleep. Under the cover of darkness, Operation Thunderbolt was launched. A convoy of armored vehicles, their engines a low growl in the silent landscape, moved out simultaneously towards multiple targets. These were the hornets' nests, the warehouses, and fortified compounds where the traffickers held their human cargo. The first breach was like a crack of lightning. Flashbang grenades tore through the night, followed by the metallic crunch of bolt cutters shearing through heavy locks. Elite units, moving with practiced, lethal precision, stormed the compounds. The resistance was immediate and violent. Armed traffickers, taken by surprise, opened fire, turning the warehouses into chaotic battlegrounds. The soldiers returned fire, their training taking over as they moved through the darkness, suppressing threats and clearing rooms, their one objective clear: get to the captives. And then they found them. In the back of a sweltering, airless container, they found the terrified faces of children, huddled together, their eyes wide with fear and confusion. In another building, they found women, some pregnant, crammed into cells. They found men, gaunt and broken, who had been destined for forced labor in illegal mines across the continent. The moment of rescue was a collision of emotions. The soldiers, hardened by combat, were visibly shaken by the scenes of human suffering. The captives, seeing their rescuers, reacted with a mixture of terror and dawning hope. Medics rushed in, providing water, treating injuries, and offering the first words of comfort these souls had heard in months. They were free. The fight was not over. It had just entered a new phase. While the rescued were being cared for, digital forensic teams descended on the captured compounds. They seized encrypted hard drives, financial records, and satellite phones. This was the network's brain, and they were determined to dissect it. Hour by hour, the digital ghosts of the traffickers began to materialize. Cryptographers broke through layers of encryption, revealing names, bank accounts in offshore havens, and communication logs that implicated high-level officials. They found tracking implants, tiny devices that were to be embedded under the skin of the captives, turning them into trackable assets. The sheer sophistication of the operation was staggering. This data was a weapon. Captain Traoré's government immediately shared the intelligence with Interpol and allied cybercrime units across Africa. The web of complicity began to unravel, with arrests being made not just in Burkina Faso, but in neighboring countries. The hidden puppeteers, the men in suits who believed they were untouchable, suddenly found their names on international arrest warrants. The success of Operation Thunderbolt sent shockwaves across the continent. Formal arrests were made, and the media coverage was explosive. The African Union declared its full support, praising the decisive action. Inspired by the raid, citizens in several countries took to the streets, holding rallies and demanding their own governments take a harder stance against human trafficking. A formal case was opened at the International Criminal Court, using the evidence gathered in the raid to begin building a case against the network's masterminds. But the most powerful moment came when Captain Ibrahim Traoré stood before his nation and the world. He did not just announce a victory. He made a solemn declaration. He declared that this was not a single operation, but the beginning of a total war against human trafficking. He called it a fight for the soul of Africa, a fight for human dignity against the forces of greed and cruelty. He vowed that his nation would be a sanctuary for the vulnerable and a graveyard for the ambitions of slavers. Operation Thunderbolt saved over 800 lives, but the war is far from over. The monsters, though wounded, are still hiding in the shadows. The need for vigilance, for courage, and for unity is greater than ever before. This story is a reminder that evil thrives on our silence, and the first step to defeating it is to have the courage to speak out and to act. What can be done to dismantle these horrific networks for good? How can we, as a global community, support this fight for human dignity? Share your ideas and your messages of support in the comments below. Let's make this a global conversation. If you were moved, and inspired by the courage of the soldiers and the resolve of their leader. Please give this video a thumbs up to help it reach a wider audience. Subscribe to our channel and activate the bell to follow our upcoming episodes, where we will dive deeper into the networks, the survivors' stories, and the ongoing fight. And please, share this video. Let the world know that Africa is rising, united against the chains of the past, and fighting for a future where every single life is sacred. Thank you for watching.